Well, good morning. We saw last time the like in general introduction to the book, and now we are going to Vedat Hashem to actually start reading and learning it. So we said that we can divide the book generally to three parts. The first part is the first chapter and the five first verses of the second chapter, and you can include all the second chapter in the first part. But I think mainly is the first five verses that we are going to see, and it speaks about completing the mission of conquering the land of Israel, mission that was failed. But it's at least the intention and that they tried to do that and they couldn't complete the mission. But this is the issue of the first chapter. And we will see two things. So there are several stories in this chapter that we already saw in Sefer Yoshua. We are going to repeat some of the things we already said. First of all, it's not a bad thing to learn the same thing twice or three times. It's okay. And second, maybe the point of view of Sefer Shoftim is a little bit different from that of Sefer Yoshua, but there are some stories that are basically the same stories as Sefer Yoshua that repeat here, and we're going to see some other details of the book. And I will start with the first verse, which reminds us the first verse in Sefer Yoshua with some things that are similar and some things that are different. I will read again the first verse in Sefer Yoshua. It says, "Va'hi acharei mot Moshe Eved Hashem." After the death of Moshe, the servant of God. And what is the first verse in Sefer Shoftim? Va'hi acharei mot Yoshua. It's the same, after the death of Yoshua. So the death of the leader of the former generation represents the start of the new generation, a new way that Am Yisrael is led. And so the next part of the verse emphasizes the differences. The next part of the verse in Sefer Yoshua says, "Vayomer Hashem el Yoshua bin Nun," and Hashem said to Yoshua bin Nun, Moshe attended, Mesharet Moshe. While in Sefer Shoftim it says, "The Israelim, Bnei Israel, inquired of God." So we see who starts the conversation. In Sefer Yoshua, it's Hashem that starts the conversation. Hashem spoke with Yoshua. While in Sefer Shoftim, Am Yisrael is asking the question, Hashem, Vayish'alu bnei Yisrael b'Hashem. They ask Hashem. How did they ask? Maybe with a prophet, maybe with the Urim v'Tumim, you know, the thing that Aaron HaKohen or the Kohen Gadol had on his chest with special letters, and that could be a way to ask Hashem. But anyway, the question comes from Hashem, from Am Yisrael, not from Hashem. Is it a sign that Am Yisrael is in a higher level or a lower level? In the Sefer Yoshua, Hashem asked them, and here, not asked, told them what they have to do. And here they have to ask him. Why didn't Hashem told them what you have to do after Yoshua died? Why they had to ask?
Maybe there is difference because Moshe is servant of God. Yoshua, there is nothing, no nickname.
Well, we said in the end of Sefer Yoshua that, here it doesn't mention, but in the end Sefer Yoshua, Yoshua arrived to the level that he also was called Eved Hashem. Moshe Eved Hashem, the same, the two people that were said about them, that they were Eved Hashem, is Moshe and Yoshua arrived to this level. But you say, well, so it's fault of Yoshua that he didn't arrive to the level of Moshe Rabbeinu?
No, they came to Eretz Yisrael, now
so
they need to do that.
Okay. So we can go two ways. We can say, well, they are in a lower level. We don't have Yoshua anymore. We don't have people in the level of Moshe of Yoshua. So you don't, Hashem doesn't speak with them because they are not deserved. They are not deserved that Hashem would speak with them. So it's a lower level. But like Yitzchak said, it may be the other way. Now we expect you to act. Until now, you were like little kids that HaKadosh Baruch Hu leads you in your hand and tell you what to do and guide you and tell you, and he is the one who's talking to you. You only have to listen. And now we're expecting you to lead. We're expecting you to be the one who takes the initiative to work and to do things. So that's the reason Hashem doesn't ask or speak to them. They has to speak with him and to ask him what to do, or even not ask, just do what you have to do. But they feel they need to ask him, and then they ask him. And they ask him a quite rare question. וישאלו בני ישראל בהשם לאמור, מי יעלה לנו לכנעני בתחילה להילחם? They asked Hashem, which of us shall be the first to go up against the Knaanim and attack them? Who should be the first? What question would we ask? I mean, the question is who's going to go first? The simple answer is all of you together. What's going on? Why you have to separate?
Why they didn't ask who is going to be the next leader?
Who's going to be the next leader of all of Israel? Or where should we start fighting? But the question is not where should we start fighting, is who's going to be first. First of all, the question is why is it important who's going to be the first? Any one of you, just choose. What's the matter? Why it's making any difference? But more importantly, why don't you go all together? Well,
whoever goes first is going to take the most casualties because they're leading in.
Very good. So this is the answer for the first question, which is the easier question. The first question, the answer for the first question, which is why is it important who goes first? So it's important for two reasons. First of all, the beginning of the war is very important. Is the first hit, the first action can make a mark on the conscience of the enemy. So if it's successful in the beginning, it's going to be very helpful after that. So this is the first explanation. We said something similar about the war of Jericho. If you remember, the war of Jericho started with a big miracle, which was like a mark in the hearts of all the Knaanim. You have a problem here, right? Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, so you have a problem here. Be careful. So this is a psychological explanation. Abarbanel also says that spiritually it's also correct. When you start things good in a good way, there is more possibility that it will continue in this way. So it's important to put the fundamentals, the base, before building the building itself, right? So the first should be the holiest, the best when you start a new synagogue, a new community, etc. So you have to do everything, try to do in the best way. The education of the children when they are younger is the most important, because it's what's going to affect them into the rest of their life. I read once, I don't know if it's true or not, I read that the character of a baby is mainly or mostly decided when he is until 3 years old. I mean, the way we speak with him and hug him and whatever we have to do with him, so it's so much effect to the rest of his life, because the beginning is so important. So again, I don't know if it's true or no, and I do believe that we can change, also in the age of 70 or 80, right? It depends on us. But for sure, the education in the first years are so important. It makes you what you are in many, many meanings, that after that, it's very hard to change. So beginning of life, beginning of new project, beginning of new community, beginning the war on Eretz Israel, it's important. So that's the reason they ask, who's going to be the first? But again, the question, it looks like the wrong question. Why don't they just go all together? And here, again, we can explain in the good side or in the bad side. In the bad side, they fail to be together. We say that one of the main problems of Sefer Shoftim is that they are not all together. The division inside them, the separation, the machloket was very big. Everybody was for himself. So this is a negative way to explain. And the positive way to explain is that maybe they needed this time to form themselves, to establish the character of each tribe for separate. So it's also something, for example, we can take that from education. It's important, one of the important aspects of the education was to separate the parents from the kid. He is other person, is not you. And many times it's hard to us to accept. Now, it's not the same as you. You should give him the freedom to choose his way in his life and to make his own character and beliefs, etc. So you have to guide him, but to give some space. So there is importance also in separation, in being each one for separated. So maybe we can take that to the positive or to the negative side, but if we say that it's negative, if we say that the fact that they wanted to go each one for separated, it's a bad thing, So I would say that Hashem can answer different answers. What Hashem answered? Let's see the second verse. The second verse says that Hashem answered, ויאמר השם יהודה יעלה, הנה נתתי את הארץ בידו. Hashem replied, let the tribe of Yehuda go up. I now deliver the land into their hands. Okay, so Yehuda first. What other answer Hashem could have given? Go all of you together. Right? So we said that if it's a negative thing, why did they ask who's going to go first? So Hashem can answer, don't separate between tribes, go everybody together. No, he said, you know what, Yehuda should go first. Why? And again, here I think the answer is Hashem won't do the things in our place, and he won't decide for us. He can help us during the way, and he will help us during the way, but he won't replace our decisions. If we would have asked, where should we go first? He would have answered us where we should go first. If we would ask, should we go all together or each tribe for separated? He would answer, go all together. But while the question is who's going to be first, he's going to answer that question. This is your decision to go each one for himself. So I won't intervene in this decision. I will tell you which would be the best way to do that was separated, but it doesn't mean that Hashem agrees that they should go separated. Finally, we have to decide our way. And when we are doing mistakes, it depends on us, and it's our fault, not Hashem's fault. Okay, so Hashem doesn't answer, go all together, maybe because it's not the right thing to do. But even if we say that it's the right thing to do, to go all together, Hashem wouldn't tell us what to do in this way. So the answer is Yehuda. And it's related to generally, as we know, that Yehuda is considered the leader of Am Yisrael. So I think I spoke a little bit about that on Sefer Yoshua, but I do want to repeat it now. And the question is why? What makes Yehuda the leader of Am Yisrael? Why is always the first? How do we say that is? First of all, the question comes from the reality that Yehuda is the fourth son. We have Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and only after that Yehuda. So why isn't it Shimon, Reuven? And if we'd say that maybe, okay, the sons of Leah, Rachel is a favorite wife, right? So maybe it shouldn't be the sons of Leah, so it can be Yosef. But it's not Yosef. So it's, I would say that the natural leader would have been Reuven or Yosef, according to the birth order. And we see that it's Yehuda. Why? So we understand that the order of birth is not always the one who built leadership. And we can see that during all Sefer Bereshit, always or almost always, the firstborn is not the chosen one. If we go for Cain and Abel, Cain was the firstborn, Abel was the second, and the real person that continued the reality is Shet, that was born later. And then we have Abraham, Nahor, Abraham. I don't remember if Abraham was the first or the second. I think that Nahor was the first, but I'm not sure. The Haran, yes. So who was the first? I don't remember, but for sure Yitzchak is the second, and Yaakov is the second. About the sons of Noah, it's also not clear because sometimes it says Shem, Ham, V'Yefet, sometimes it says in other order. Anyway, being born first, it's not what makes you leader. And that's the reason that we should check according to who is the one who is fit to this position. And like in many other cases, the stories of Sefer Bereshit, which we are reading in this Shabbatot, gives us a lot of information about the characters of the different tribes. So there are individual stories, but these individual stories later will characterize all the tribe, or all say that Yehuda, according to his behavior in Sefer Bereshit, we will see that he will going to be later a leader. And Levi, because of his behavior in Sefer Bereshit, is going to be the Kohen or the Levi. And Shimon, we're going to speak about Shimon also. So the stories of Sefer Bereshit takes us or gives us some kind of information about the character of the tribes during the history. So what we can see and say about Yehuda, I think that there are three characters that we can see in Sefer Bereshit that are important, and there are the reason that later Yehuda was a leader of Am Israel. I just want to mention not only that he here is first, we will see that in the desert he is the first in the Galim, in the way they walk in the desert, Yehuda was the first, and most importantly, David HaMelech is the house of kingdom of Am Israel, and he is from the tribe of Yehuda, and from him the Mashiach will come, so that he will be also from the tribe of Yehuda, who is going to be the king, Melech HaMashiach, the king. So we understand that Yehuda is the leader. And the question is why? What makes him the right person to be the first, to be the leader, to be the king? So I will start with a negative story about Yehuda. The situation, if you remember, that Yosef come to the brothers. Yaakov sent Yosef to the brothers to see what's going on with them, and then he come and they see him from far away. And the brothers hate Yosef. What is the reaction to him coming closer to them? So there were three things that three people that spoke there. The first, when they first saw him, it says, the verse says, "Vayomru ish el achiv, hine ba halomot al hazeh." Ava, I don't remember exactly the words, let's kill him. So the first suggestion was we should kill Yosef. Who was the one who was speaking? He doesn't say names. He says, Vayomer ish el achiv, a man to his brother.
Shimon to Levi.
Yes, so Chachamim says there were Shimon and Levi, but the Torah doesn't say anything. Just say ish el achiv. We can understand they spoke between them, but it doesn't say names. There are some proofs that these ish el achiv are Shimon and Levi, and we will see that later. Anyway, that was the first opinion. This opinion wasn't accepted in the first place. Then there was a second opinion, Reuven. Reuven said, let's throw him to the well. Why did he suggest that? He said, let's don't kill him in our hands. Let's leave him die alone. We shouldn't kill him by our own hands. It's not much better than the former opinion. But the Torah said that Reuven didn't mean really to kill him. He just wanted an excuse to after that save him. And we see that later. He came back to him and he saw that he wasn't in the well. He started to cry and he said, what will we do? What we will say to our father? The Torah itself says that he says that in order to save him from their hands. So Reuven was the one who wanted to save him, even though what offer was to throw him to the well. And then the third opinion or the third offer was to what?
Yehuda.
To sell him. And that was offered by Yehuda. Yehuda told them, why should we kill him? Let's sell him. Yeah. So, that's exactly the point. Who was the one whose opinion was accepted in the end? Yehuda. They did according to Yehuda. They also heard to Reuven temporarily, but finally they went after Yehuda. So, was it the right decision? No. Was it the right thing to do? Of course not. It was a big sin to sell him. But what I want to point here is some natural character, which is, I would say, charisma. I don't know exactly the definition. It's that when you say something, people listen to you. It's not something that you achieve by working on yourself. It's a natural thing that you are born with it, or you can develop it maybe. But this is maybe the first character of leadership. Again, and I don't say that it was the right thing to do. There is leadership that brings you to bad things. But we can see here that people are listening to Yehuda. When he says something, that's what's happening in the end. So this is natural charisma, is something necessary to be a leader. So that's the first story we can see. The second story is from the parasha that we are going to read this week. The story of Tamar. Tamar, Vayeshev. Yeah. Next week, Vayeshev, Parashat Vayeshev. After they sold Yosef, of course. So anyway, the story is there. If you remember, Yehuda left his brothers. The Rashi explains that they told him, if you have told us other thing, we would have listened to you. It's your fault that our father is mourning for Yosef, because we would have listened to anything that you have done, you would have said to us. Again, we see the same character. Everybody say, we would have listened to you. So they were angry of him, so he left the family. Yehuda left the family, went to other place, got married, had children, and then the children, the first child was married a woman, Tamar, and he died. And after that, the second brother, also married her, like what we call yibum, the obligation to marry the wife of the dead brother, something that we are not doing today, but this is originally the law of the Torah, and he also died. And then the Torah told us that Yehuda was afraid that the third son, he had three sons. So if the third son is going to marry her, he's also going to die. So he told her, you wait until he grow up, but it was a lie. He didn't want to give her to marry him. And she stayed like without marriage, waiting for the son. And when she understood that it's not going to happen, again, I'm not going to tell all the details. Without Hashem, you are welcome to the synagogue next Shabbat to hear the parasha. But Tamar seduced Yehuda himself, and he didn't know that it was her. Interesting story. How? But he didn't know it was her. He was with her, and she got pregnant. And then after a few months, when everybody saw she was pregnant, so he's been told that she is pregnant, and the law was that she must be executed. She must die for that. And Yehuda was a judge, and he said, yeah, she must die for what she did. And again, I'm not now answering the question why, etc., just saying what the story is. And then Tamar didn't want to embarrass him, to tell him it's from you. So she sent it like in a hint. He sent him a hint. You should know that this child is yours. And then he admitted. So he recognized his mistakes. And he said, no, it was my fault. She should have died. And then after that, from this pregnancy was born Zerach and Peretz. And from that came after that David HaMelech. Anyway, what I want to say that from this story that, again, should be learned very deeply. It's a lot of questions and answers to that. But what I want to take from that is the ability to recognize mistakes. It's something that is very hard for many of us. Not everybody can recognize his mistakes. And not everybody can say, yeah, it was me. I was the one who did the sin. I was the one who did the wrong thing. So the ability to recognize mistakes is also a very important character, especially for a leader. When so many people depend on your mistakes, try to imagine the politicians today being able to say, no, you know what, this policy that I made was a mistake. We must try other things. They just insist and keep doing the same things, even though you know it's not going to the right place. It's so hard to recognize. So then, well, maybe they're going to vote to other person or whatever. But I mean, to being able to correct the mistakes depends on the ability to recognize the mistakes. And that was something that Yehuda showed us in this story of Tamar, even though we can criticize him for many things he did, but this power to say I was wrong and I recognize that, it's something very important, especially in leadership when you have so much power in your hands. When you have so much power in your hands, you must be able to say, I misuse this power and I want to correct my mistakes. So this is the second character. And the third character, from the stories of Sefer Bereshit, that we can relate to Yehuda, is in the story Parashat Miketz, when they met Yosef, they didn't recognize Yosef, and Yosef told them, you must bring Binyamin with you. And they went back to Eretz Canaan, and Yaakov didn't want to send Binyamin. He said, Yosef is already gone. Shimon is gone because Yosef left Shimon in Mitzrayim. And if you take Binyamin, he may also something happen to him, and I don't want to send him. And so they waited until the food ended. No, before that, Reuven said, no, send him with me. I will take care of him. If I won't return him, you would kill my two sons. It's a very strange offer again. Reuven tried to take the leadership, say, I will take, but what he offered was stupid. Chachamim again explained that Yaakov said, this is Bechor Shoteh. is a stupid firstborn. Are there his child and not my child? His children are not my children, they are my grandsons. What would I take from killing your two sons? What kind of an offer is it? So he rejected Reuben. Again, he didn't listen to what Reuben had to say. And then after waiting a while, Yehuda was the one who came again and said, you know what? I will take him and I am responsible for him. And I am what it's called avel. How do you say avel? In English, someone that is guaranteed. That, avel is arev is when I have a loan, so I have someone to firm that if I don't pay, he will pay. Yeah, guarantor. So he say, I will be the guarantor for him, and I will take the responsibility on bringing him and bringing him back. And then when they took Binyamin, and first of all, Yaakov heard what he said to say, and let him take Binyamin with him. And then when they arrived to Egypt, they had a problem with Binyamin. Joseph arranged this problem and he wanted to leave Binyamin with him. And then Yehuda was the one who was stepping forward and saying, and started to argue with Joseph, offering himself instead of Binyamin. Say, take me and leave Binyamin alone, etc. So what we can see from that, it's again, general leadership. Yaakov is hearing to him, he's the one who stepped forward, but most importantly, is being able to take responsibility. And I think this is the third character that is so important for a leadership. To be able to take the responsibility, to be the one who's taking it's on me. I am responsible to do that. I am responsible to deliver. So this is maybe the third character. So we can say a natural character of charisma, of leadership. Second, the ability to recognize the mistakes. And third, to take responsibility. So maybe these are the reasons that Yehuda was chosen as the leader, and this is the answer of Hashem. Again, here, like other places, always when the question is who is going to be first, the answer is Yehuda. And then we continue to the third verse. Don't worry, we're not going to have a class of every verse. It's just in the beginning. Okay. So the third verse, it says, so Hashem saw Yehuda would be the one who go first, but Yehuda doesn't want to go alone for some reason. So Yehuda then said to their brother tribe Shimon, come up with us to our allotted territory and let us attack the Canaanim. And then we will go with you to your allotted territory. So Shimon joined them. So Yehuda make a deal with Shimon. You will go with me, I will go with you. First of all, it's a first step towards union, right? Even though it didn't work later. And Yehuda really completed with that. We're going to jump some verses. Vayal Yehuda went to the war and he took the city that he had to take. And later it says that well, later I'm not looking for it now. It says that when Shimon arrived to his time, Yehuda went with him. So Yehuda and Shimon went together. And here again the question, and again I think we already spoke about that in Sefer Yeshua, but I repeat on about it now. What is the story of Shimon? Shimon disappeared inside Yehuda. Chachamim say that Yehuda made Shimon a favor, because he wasn't blessed by Moshe Rabbeinu, and we're going to speak about that. So he offered him, come with me, so the blessing I got will also be on you. And then Shimon went with him. And we saw in Sefer Yoshua that the tribe of Shimon actually didn't get his own territory. His territory was inside the territory of Yehuda. So Shimon in some way disappeared. It wasn't an independent tribe. And the question is why? And again, we return to the stories in Sefer Bereshit and also in other parts of the Torah about to understand the story of the tribe of Shimon, which disappeared a little bit. So we'll start with the bracha of Yaakov. In the end of his life, Parashat Vayechi, Yaakov bless his all sons. Well, saying bless is misused of the word because he didn't bless all of them. Some of them he blessed, the other one he criticized very strongly. He criticized Reuven for some reason, and he criticized Shimon and Levi. Shimon ולוי אחים, כלי חמאס מחירותיהם, they are like robbers and criminals, and I would separate them between the tribes. Why Yaakov is so hard with Shimon and Levi? What is so bad about them? He really didn't bless them. He just criticized them and saying bad things about them. And also he punished them by saying, I will separate them. They won't get any part in the land of Israel. Like we said that Shimon lost his territory inside Yehuda because what they have done. So what they have done, we can relate them two bad things that they did. One in our parasha, in this case it's in our parasha, and the second, what we said before. When we said Shimon vayomru ish el achiv, they wanted to kill Yosef. Who was the one who wanted to kill Yosef? It was Shimon and Levi. And we can see some hints to that in other places of the Torah. For example, what I just said, when Yaakov blessed or talked about Shimon and Levi, he says Shimon veLevi achim, vayomru ish el achiv. It's the same word. You use the word achim, brothers, not about all the brothers, but specifically about Shimon and Levi. And there are other hints for that this Shimon and Levi was the one who were speaking, were saying that let's kill him. We can see that, for example, if we think about who can it be. So we know that the sons of the midwives of the behind Zilpah weren't so against Yosef, because it says so when he was helping the sons of the midwives of Bilhan and Zilpah. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to say that there were them that wanted to kill him. Reuven, we already know that he didn't want to kill him. And Yehuda, we saw that he wanted to sell him. And the other two brothers of Leah, which are Issachar and Zvulun, they were too young. They was the youngest. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to say that there was them. So we left with Shimon and Levi. The most logical thing to say is that Shimon and Levi were the people who were saying, let's kill Yosef. So one thing that are criticized for is wanting to kill Yosef. So this is understandable. Now, the second story is in our parasha, like I said, the story with Shechem. And again, very, very shortly, the story says that Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, went to walk in the city, and then the princess of the city took her and raped her and captured her and left her hostage in his house. And that Shimon and Levi, well, they did some, they told them, I won't tell you the story. There were a negotiation, and then the negotiations, Shimon and Levi offered, you should make Brit Milah, and then we will be partner with you. So all the city made Brit Milah, and Shimon and Levi came and killed the whole city. Well, it's what we can say proportional reaction, right, to this. And here's a question: is it proportional reaction? And is it right that all the people should have, all the people of the city should have died? It's a question that the Mefarshim spoke about, and we won't answer this question right now. Was Yaakov part of the plan? He wasn't part of the plan. It was the other brothers part of it or not? It's a question. But what we do know is that Yaakov is very angry with them. Yaakov criticized them for that. And then after that, he mentions that again in the Brachot. So these two actions caused Yaakov to curse Shimon and Levi. Okay, and Shimon and Levi had the reasons in both cases. In Shechem, they had a justified case. I mean, I don't know if the reaction is correct, but the fact that the Shechem did something bad to them, it's fact, it's not a question. So they had some reasons. Also about Yosef, we usually present the story of Yosef as Yosef is the good and the brothers are the bad, but it's not very accurate. I mean, of course, the brothers did a big mistake and a bigger sin than Yosef, but Chachamim also mentioned that Yosef wasn't purely angel in this case. He also has some kind of his fault. So we cannot say that the actions themselves, or I mean, the reason for the action is totally unjustified. It's just the reaction looks like overreacting, like too much. There are too hard, too powerful reaction, that it's not appropriate to the action that is needed in these cases. So if we continue in the Tanakh later, we go until the last parasha of the Torah, Parashat Vedot HaBracha, we arrive to the story that also Moshe Rabbeinu also blessing the tribes. And not like Yaakov, he truly blessed all the tribes. All the tribes, apart from Shimon. Shimon is not mentioned in the bracha of Moshe. He didn't criticize him like Yaakov. He didn't say anything bad about him, but he didn't also mention him. He goes tribe by tribe, all the tribes, Shimon, nothing. So maybe he's still angry with him, like Yaakov. It's interesting because about Levi, the other way. Levi got one of the best blessings. He is praised and so many good things about Levi. So if Shimon and Levi are together and they have the same mode of mind and they should be limited and restrained, why Levi got the blessing from Moshe and Shimon get nothing from Moshe? It's a big question. And another thing I would say, we say that Yaakov told them that both of you won't get any territory in the land of Israel. I will separate you. And it was true. Levi didn't get territory. He was a Levi. And Shimon got something in the tribe of Judah, but basically he wasn't living there. We can see in Divrei Yamim, I won't enter to that right now, but in Divrei Yamim it says that he had cities of Shimon inside the Nachalah of Ephraim, which is in totally different place. It's in the center of the land, while Shimon should be in the south. So we can see that he was separated in all the land of Israel. And Chachamim says that he got the teachers of children came from the tribe of Shimon. And you know how much teachers make, right? So there was the poor that were going to ask for tzedakah, for donations, and there are the people who are teaching, going from place to place to teach the children. So we can see that even though both of them were punished by not having part in the land of Israel, for Levi, it's the highest honor, while for Shimon, it's the lowest. It's the humiliating, right? To be like Shimon. So again, the question is why? Why Shimon has this destiny so different from Levi, even though they are blamed for the same sins? Another thing about Shimon that is interesting, that is in this case is similar to Levi, is the numbers of the people in the tribe. If we, in Sefer Bemidbar, there are two census, you say, when you count the people. Census? Census. There are two census, in the beginning of the book and quite towards the end. And we don't notice it normally because the numbers are almost the same. In the first year, there are 600,000. In the last year, there are 600,000, which is a question for itself. In Egypt, they were growing from 70 people to 2 million in 200 years. And here, 40 years, no change in the numbers. It's a question that is discussed. But anyway, something interesting. Even though the general number didn't change, when we see the tribes themselves, we see a big difference. In the first census, Shimon is 60,000 people. In the last one is 20,000. 40,000 disappeared. While the other tribes grew up in numbers or stayed the same, more or less. But this big change, where 40,000 people of Shimon disappeared, what happened to them? And in this way, he arrived to be similar to Levi. Levi is also around 20,000. So Shimon and Levi has more or less the same number of people that arrived to enter the land of Israel. So what's the point of Shimon? What happened to Shevet Shimon? Why is treated so hardly? The answer to that question, to that mystery, may be in other stories that appears in Sefer Bemidbar, the story of the famous story of Not Midian and Pinchas. So again, the story speaks about Balak, the king of Moab, wanted to fight against Israel. He invited Bilam to curse them, but instead of cursing, he must bless them. Hashem put blessing in his mouth, and he couldn't go in this way. But then, according to the Midrash and the Torah, it's also, it looks like that Bilam gave an advice to Melech Moab. He says, send the daughters to seduce the men of Israel, and then the daughters can convince them to make idolatry. So did Balak accepted this advice or didn't accept? he didn't accept because the daughters of Moab didn't went there. But who did accept that? The nation of Midian. So the Midianim were around there, and Bilam was from there, sent the daughters, and also it mentions the Midianim, but it's also said not Moab. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that they sent the daughters, and Am Israel fall in this sin, and many people of Israel went there and were with his daughters, and then Moshe didn't know exactly what to do because one of the tribe of Shimon took the princess of the Midianim in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. He took her to the tent, and Moshe Rabbeinu was in shock. He didn't know what to do because they told him, "You are also married with the Midian girls, right? With Zipporah was a daughter of Yitro from Midian. So what can you do about it?" So Moshe didn't know what to answer. He was stuck. And Pinchas, the son of Elazar, which is from the tribe of Levi, he was the one who killed this person from Zimri ben Salu from Shevet Shimon and the Midianit. So we can see again Shimon and Levi, but the two sides of in this case, is two sides, the positive and the negative. Now, the action of Pinchas, is it a regular action? Killing someone without judge, without sentence? No, it's not a regular. It's an action of jealousy to Hashem. It's of kanaut, it's called. It's a very strong and action that it's not allowed to do. You're doing someone doing something wrong, you can't just go and kill him. It was a very specific situation when it was good. But we can see that the action of jealousy of Levi, the son of Levi, I mean Pinchas, came from the right place. While Shimon, we suspect that it wasn't so pure. So what I'm trying to say is that Shimon and Levi, both of them, has huge powers. So huge that it's dangerous. They can lose the limits. So they must be separated. Like Yaakov say, I must separate between you. Two of you together, it's too much power, too much energy, and it can cause bad reactions, overreacting to situation. So you must separate. In the case of Levi, this power of jealousy, of being so dedicated to Hashem, to the justice, etc., can be more dealt with. It can be dealt in a better way, in a more, in a softer way, and that's the reason that Levi was the one who was destined to be the leader, the spiritual leader of Am Israel. While in the case of Shimon, it wasn't so pure. It's needed more work. So that's the reason for in the case of Shimon. I just forgot to say, we can see that in the case of Shimon, Pinchas, in the end of Sefer Bamidbar, we're going to finish in 2 minutes, it was 24,000 people that were died. We can assume that most of them was from Shevet Shimon, because that's the explanation of the difference of the number. From 60, it's not explained all the difference, but some of the difference. So we can assume that most of the 24,000 people that died were from the tribe of Shimon. So we understand that his jealousy for the purity of Am Israel in the case of Dinah wasn't so pure, because he himself has the same problem in some way. Okay, so we can understand that Shimon has huge powers. He has some potential, but it needs much more to be kept, to be guarded, that it won't cross the line. So in this case, that's the reason that he lost his territory, is going with Yehuda, and that we just saw in this verse. Okay, so we saw 3 verses. It's quite good. But Hashem, we're going to have a faster rhythm in the next few weeks. Okay, any question or commentaries? Okay, yeah.
Talks about Judah here.
Yeah.
Is the tribe of Judah judges?
Yeah.
Is that a person?
No, it's a tribe. It's a tribe. But I'm just saying that the character of the person affect his descendants, his tribe. Yeah, that's the character of leadership of the tribe came from the first patriarch of the tribe.
Thank you to Joe and Phil for the breakfast. You're welcome.